Hello, welcome back to another race result video with me, Elliot. Today I want to talk about a bit of a sensitive topic, which is your online security. It's 2025 and it's an ever more common topic of discussion when we're talking about online accounts and logins. So today I'm going to talk about a few new features we've introduced to help protect your race result account and also make it a little bit easier for some of those larger teams. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is two-factor authentication. I'm sure everybody here has heard of it, but in case you haven't, a quick summary. When you're logging in, you need to enter both your username and password as standard. You will then receive a uniquely generated password, a one-time password that is additionally used to verify your account. That one-time password is normally generated either via SMS or a mobile app, and that's the approach we're going to be looking at today. To get started, you're going to need an Authenticator app on your mobile device. It can also be a laptop, but obviously mobile phones are much easier to carry wherever you are. There's a lot of options on the market from Microsoft, Google, or even Apple Passwords for iOS-based users, and we're going to be using what is called a time-based one-time password. Essentially what that means is that it will automatically calculate a new OTP, one-time password, for you approximately every 30 seconds, depending on the configuration, which is available in your app. These apps can even calculate that offline, so your mobile device doesn't even technically need to be online at the time. To enable two-factor authentication for your race result account, you first need to log into your customer area on raceresult.com. If you navigate to your data, you'll see the following new box appear for two-factor authentication. It will give you a little bit of a description and a warning, and clicking Activate Two-Factor Authentication will show a QR code, which you will then need to scan from your Authenticator app. This will automatically add the account into your app, and you'll need to enter the one-time password that it generates to verify it has been correctly added, as well as your password again to confirm that you want to enable two-factor authentication. For example, in the Microsoft Authenticator app, the one-time password will look at something a bit like this. It is a 6-digit number with a countdown depicting how long that code is still valid for. Once two-factor authentication is enabled on your account, when you are logging in, you will enter your username and password as standard. When you do so, a third box will appear asking for a one-time password. Open up your Authenticator app, enter the password, and you'll be able to sign in. There is an additional option to trust this browser for 1 week. This stores a cookie on your browser, allowing you to bypass the one-time password two-factor authentication for up to 7 days. We also have this functionality built in to all of the offline services, including Transponder module, Old Presenter, our apps, including Event Tools and Aurora, and all internal services. A few things to consider when enabling two-factor authentication. It is currently optional, but highly recommended. Your race result accounts contain a lot of personal data of your participants, which you should take proactive steps to protect. It can be enabled on multiple devices if you require. However, note that the activation code in the website is only displayed once, so you would need to save that image somewhere, which may decrease your security level. Note that two-factor authentication is required for all login points, as I mentioned previously, and once it is enabled on your account, it cannot be deactivated. Now, those of you working in larger teams may already be seeing a bit of a flaw here, and you might have some questions. Just give me a moment and I'll get to those. For those of you working in a team at the moment, there's two ways of working. Either you share a single password with everybody in your team and they all log into the same account, or each user has their own individual account and you grant individual event access to each person on an event basis. Now, both of these have flaws. If you go for a single password, of course, if somebody leaves your company, you have to change the password. If you're enabling two-factor authentication, everybody needs the same two-factor authentication enabled. If you're granting access rights for each event, then again, if somebody leaves your team, you need to remove those access rights for all of your events, which may span multiple years. But what if I told you there was a better way? The new option in race result is to grant account access rights. With the new account access rights, you can grant access to a master race result account to each individual user who will log in with their own account credentials. To do this, again, log into your customer area on raceresult.com, and there is a section which is now named Account Access. In here, you'll see the ability to grant access to other users to your account. There are some caveats about this that I'll talk about in a moment, but to add access rights to a user, you need both their customer ID and their username. This is a security feature to ensure that it really is the correct account you are giving access to. Once you grant access rights to another account, you'll see them listed below, as well as the created date and the last login. You can revoke these access rights at any time by simply deleting an entry. When that user is then logging in, they enter their username and their password, and it will now show options for sign in as. They can either enter as their own account, or they will also see listed other additional accounts to which they have access. Note that one other user may actually be granted access to multiple accounts, particularly those of you who freelance with multiple companies. You might have quite a long list here. Once you've logged in, you'll notice that the username in the top right-hand corner will now display your account username at the master account username and account number. Similarly, in the participant history, this will be stored so you can always identify which user made a change in your event file. As I said, there's a few important things you need to consider when considering account access rights. The first is that the users you grant access to have access to your entire race result account. This is not limited to just events, it is your whole account. That is your events, orders, and invoices. The only exception here is they cannot access the account access page to grant access to other users and so on. With regards to events, the user again has complete control over your event files. They can create and delete events and similarly check in and check out events, things that were previously only possible by the main master login. Also note, if two-factor authentication is enabled on your main account, each user you grant access to must also have this enabled on their account in order to log in to your account. Now, I know, more questions. Those of you working with third-party platforms who may use our API to communicate directly with Race Result 12. Of course, if you're enabling two-factor authentication on your account, that isn't going to work. That's why we've now enhanced the API keys available within Race Result to work with both Race Result 12 and our REST API for which they were previously generated. When going into your account access page, you'll see the API section, and you can now create a new API key with one of two types, either Race Result 12 and your devices, or just devices only. Each key needs a name and can optionally be given an expiry date. Say, for example, a third-party platform should only be able to access your account for a short time for a specific event. You can set these to automatically expire. When you click Create, you will be shown the API key below. This is only shown a single time, so make sure you save it before closing the page. And your API keys will additionally be listed below and again can be revoked at any time. I know that's a lot to take in. It may be a lot of changes for how you work with Race Result and Race Result 12 in particular, but we believe that these enhancements to your account security provide a lot of long-term benefit for every customer. That's all I have for today. Stay safe.